Last time I displayed the party's inventory and started working on the furniture's inventory in The Dungeon Under My House, my second freshly squeezed entertainment project. If you've been following along, you know that The Dungeon Under My House will be a non-violent, first-person dungeon crawler, and as a freshly squeezed entertainment project, it will be a polished, playable prototype that provides a complete entertainment experience. It will be freely available for desktop computers as well as mobile devices, with no ads, no in-app purchases, and no personal data tracking. Hello and welcome. My name is Gianfranco Berardi. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I encourage curiosity and support creativity through my solo indie game development studio, GB Games LLC. I'm really happy that you're here to join me on this indie game development journey. In this week's Freshly Squeezed Progress Report, see the link in the companion blog post in the description, I made it possible to view and interact with furniture in inventory, plus started working out on paper how the flashlight should work in the dark areas of the dungeon. My last report was a few weeks ago. I would have written a blog post or recorded a video sooner, between preparing for a tax appointment, grieving over my 21-year-old cat Gizmo passing away, producing updated versions of my leaf raking business game Toidle's Leaf Raking for the itch.io spring sale, dealing with a minor cold, and participating in various family outings and obligations, forward motion on this project took a pause, but I'm slowly getting back into the game dev habit. Now when you look at the bed or any furniture, you can look at its inventory if it has any. Some furniture has more capacity for inventory slots than others, and rather than waste all of this space, I thought I would dynamically size the inventory slots. I like that some fun math makes it obvious what this screen's focus is supposed to be. Here's the bed if it had 9 inventory slots instead of 4, neatly centered and still prominent. As for actually interacting with the inventory, I decided the main mechanism for moving items around was by swapping. So you select one slot, then select another slot, and the contents switch. This decision nicely solves the problem of what to do when a party member's inventory is full, as dropping something to make room for the new item becomes a natural part of the interaction. And with this feature completed, another part of the intro gameplay has been completed. The party can acquire a flashlight to illuminate the darkest parts of the newly discovered dungeon so they can proceed to explore it. Next up, to actually do work on, is to use the flashlight to light up the dark parts of the dungeon. Most of this work is still on paper, as there are some design questions to answer. An obvious gameplay thing to do is to allow the player to interact with the item, and in this case, toggle the flashlight on and off at will. Then I could introduce the need to conserve the flashlight's batteries, and provide a means of replenishment of those batteries either by recharging or replacement. And while those mechanics sound kind of neat, and maybe in a different game they would be interesting to play with, in this game I think requiring the player to manually turn the flashlight on and off would be tedious. Unless I add other mechanics to go with it, why make it a choice when the choice is obvious? Instead, I think having the flashlight turn on automatically when you start entering a darker part of the dungeon, and having it turn off automatically when you emerge back into more brightly lit areas should work well. But I'll play test it to see if it feels weird. Meanwhile, I also need to actually render the dungeon with the lighting from the flashlight, which has its own challenges. Next time, I expect to report how I implemented this new gameplay. Thanks for watching, and stay curious. Now, if you want to learn when I release The Dungeon Under My House, or about future freshly squeezed entertainment games I am creating, then sign up for the GB Games Curiosities newsletter and download full-color player's guides to my existing and future games for free. Again, check the links in the description.